Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. Hail Varsity Radio is on the road today. Sweet 16 upon us. 4 ball games tonight, 4 tomorrow, and the headquarters for you, Longwell's 76 strong. So many beers on tap, great food and drink specials, and hopefully you were down here for the kickoff to the NCAA tournament with a special edition of the Morning Hookup with Bill Hooks and Will Wilson, Elijah Herbel. Elijah back in studio right now. We're efforting to get StreamYard going here, but a little Katy Perry and Snoop Dogg blaring down here. All 3 of those monster screens on sports right now, looking at the Sweet 16. Husker football on our mind with the news on, or not specific news, but announcement by Scott Frost on wide receiver, Bellevue West product, Zavier Betts. Will get plenty into that. Thoughts on the tight end room from Scott Frost as well. Not a lot of detail either, but just, a newsworthy day after practice today. Numbers to dial up and get involved with us on Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow here at Longwell's 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. That's the way to get in touch with us and get on down here to Longwell's. Tip-off, I think, is just a shade after 6 tonight for the NCAA tournament games. You have some Cinderella still alive, man. I think Elijah might be rocking the old Peacock T-shirt as they hook up with Purdue tomorrow evening. What you do have in action tonight, though, is Arkansas-Gonzaga. Some of us have Gonzaga going all the way and falling to Arizona. Michigan-Nova tonight. You have Tech and Duke. A lot of Texas Tech fans. And then Arizona, do they stay pure? Was it enough of a scare against TCU to come ready against Houston and Calvin Sampson? That is on the docket tonight down here at Longwells. You can email the show, chris@hailvarsity.com. Please find us, give us a follow on Hail Varsity, Twitter at Hail Varsity, at ESPN Lincoln, and our personal accounts at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel. Chris Schmidt, that is me, at Schmidt_radio. Elijah, busy day for Scott Frost, busy day for Nebraska fans, and a lot of Husker fans frustrated, worried, concerned. The take is, here we go again. Another high-level talent is not part of the football team at the present moment. Before we hear from Scott Frost, I have some thoughts on Zavier Betts. And listen, Zavier's a kid we loved watching at Memorial Stadium, win a championship, covering him in high school. We loved talking with his high school football coach, Coach Huffman. And Zavier's a guy that Nebraska really said, you know what, we're going to take care of you. We are going to offer you a scholarship. We are going to tell you what you need to do. We're going to help you get where you need to go. But we want you a part of this football team. We want to offer you. And Zavier put the work in to become a member of the Nebraska football team. And it's been inconsistent on Zavier's end, and that takes time once you transition from high school to college to get your feet stabilized and go out there and ball. Man, we have seen glimpses of greatness, some really high-level game-breaking ability. And you talk to folks around the country you bump into, they're like, man, Betts could play in any league and light up any defense. He is that talented. He is that good. We need to know more, and only really Zavier can divulge that, and it's up to him. What I can do the math on right now is this. I don't think this is a Scott Frost or staff deal. Frost gets beaten over the head with a half-empty Crown bottle, it feels like, every time there's attrition or a departure. I know Wan'Dale Robinson's a guy that went and thrived elsewhere. I know the McCaffrey saga. I know you've lost Adrian Martinez. You've had a number of guys leave. That happens, and that happens more and more in college football. I can say with a straight face, and enough people I've talked to, that Nebraska has done everything in their power to be there for Zavier Betts, help Zavier Betts. And really it's up to Zavier Betts. And it's a question, do you love football? Do you want to play football? That's my read on things. That's my take on things. And if the kid doesn't want to play football anymore and wants to go do something else, hey, do what makes you happy. That being said, Betts is a guy that is great at doing this sport. And by continuing to play this sport, and getting coached up by a guy like Mickey Joseph can do a lot of things for your future. That's my take on things with this. Does he want to play football? Can he? Absolutely. The local part of this is also what hurts, because he's a guy that is just 50 miles up the road, and you don't want to lose anybody that can be a game breaker, can be a difference maker. But you don't want to lose anybody specifically in state. And we'll see. There's going to be, from what I've been told, a meeting tomorrow with Coach Frost and Zavier. The way I think things went down is Betts got back from spring break, made a couple of phone calls, and decided that, you know what, I'm not going to do lifting. I don't know that I want to do this anymore. And you've got a different coaching dynamic in Mickey Joseph, and I'm just going to call it like I see it. I think it's a better coaching dynamic because of Mickey's history at LSU and guys that have thrived and gone on to the NFL. And you talk to guys about what Mickey Joseph has done for them. It's not just what he's done for you on the field to get you in the NFL, but it's about making you accountable off the field. And with Betts, I mean, he's a guy who is somebody that has really had to grind and stay focused. And you know what? Raising both hands, I was that guy too when I was in college, different parts of my college career. So I'm not saying I'm Zavier Betts, but I'm just saying folks come along in this race known as life, or this marathon known as life, at different points. And Elijah, going to bring you in here. Mickey Joseph was pretty honest and upfront going back to the pre-spring football press conference during the roundtable sessions, just with not only the pressures that Zavier Betts feels as being an in-state kid, but also just the doing it every day all the time, the consistency part and the maturity part. I mean, there's a high standard Mickey Joseph sets, expects, and you need to adhere to. And I'm not saying that didn't happen with the previous coaching staff, i.e. Coach Lubick, but you have a new sheriff in Mickey Joseph, and I think it's a guy that guys who really want to thrive and succeed crave structure, and I think that is being brought to the room. And I think there's kind of a no-excuse policy. And with Betts, I'm not privy to what exactly it is, other than the guy is probably right now questioning, do I want to do this anymore? And it kind of comes down to the love of the game.
Yeah, and it's nothing that we've ever sat here and questioned Zavier Betts' talent. It's never been that, and I'm not. You want to sit here?
We've never questioned his character either, and that's not where I'm going either.
No. And I'm not saying I question his love of the game. It's just college football is a completely different beast than high school football when it comes to the amount of effort and dedication you need to put into the game, combined with the classes you're taking in college, which might be more difficult than anything you've ever taken in high school. It's a grind. College football is. You hear that from all the college athletes now they're doing their podcasts, that just college football season, you get into practice, you get into whatnot. It is a grind, and you wonder with a kid like him, he got a week off and he realized, man, this could be my life every single week. Why do I want to go back to this where I'm going to have to keep on grinding and competing with a new coaching staff? I'm going to have to go re-earn all of my playing time. I get it. So I hope it's not an issue with him of realizing, like, I guess I hope it's not something where he doesn't think he's good enough now that he has a new coaching staff in town, where it's now he has to go and impress new coaches. I hope it's not that. I hope it is a case of, you know what, maybe my priorities in life have just shifted from when I was 18. It's time for me to find a new start. And if that is the case, then wish him the best.
Here is Scott Frost as we are connected on the StreamYard on ESPN Lincoln's Facebook, also on ESPN Lincoln's Twitter. Let's hear from Scott Frost here. The announcement today as the word from head coach Scott Frost on Zavier Betts.
Yeah, Zavier's not a member of the team right now.
Why is that?
He's just not a member of the team right now.
Do you anticipate he'll return?
It doesn't matter right now. He's not a member of the team.
So there is the reality. There is so much upside for a really, really talented athlete. And it comes down to what does he want to do? It comes down to how's the meeting go tomorrow. And it comes down to Nebraska right now with a new offensive coordinator, with a new wide receivers coach, with a new offense, with a new quarterback, with Mickey Joseph needing and wanting to find 9 guys he can rely on. Betts is certainly, top-tier talent, but it's up to him right now, would be my speculation, and I'm going to speculate for 2 seconds, for him to get all in. And that is a decision maybe he will make, or could make, I should say, not getting my magic 8 ball or crystal ball out, but that will need to be decided, I would say, by tomorrow, what he wants to do. And if he wants to do life without football, God bless and good luck. You can do a lot of things, young man. If you want to keep doing football, brother, you're great at it. Yeah. And you got the right coach in the wide receiver room to help make you great and really do things on the football field. I don't know Zavier at all. Again, we've covered him from a distance just with high school coverage and then talking to his coach, Coach Huffman. And there's so many people in Betts' life that care about him. And it's not, in my opinion, just what Zavier can do for us or do for me. I think there's some genuine care with not only teammates but also people that have been in his life on the athletic field and in the academic world for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you pretty much laid it out here perfectly where I think everyone in Nebraska, if Zavier wants to continue playing football, and welcome him back. But if he does decide that this is the end of his career, maybe he needs a fresh start somewhere else, I think we'd all, as Nebraskans, sit back and say, you know what, wish you the best.
I would put money down, and I'll use Mama's money, that if he doesn't play ball at Nebraska, I don't think he's going to play ball.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same.
I think it's just a matter of, do I want to do this anymore? And that's the commitment. I can only imagine the commitment and the requirements for student athletes. You throw in NIL opportunities, which is good, can be incredible, but between the balancing act of school and the balancing act of football. Elijah, you got bros on the team, man. It's a full-time job for them. They love it, but it is. If you get a week away from it, and it's just been balls to the wall, maybe your mind starts to wander a little bit.
Yeah, well, what could I be doing instead of waking up at 4:45 every single morning, going and lifting, going and getting breakfast, and then going and practicing for a couple hours, and then going to class all day, and then going to study hour, and then going and studying film, and then coming home and repeating the whole process. Yeah, we've heard it from so many athletes, as I was just saying a couple minutes ago, from all these podcasts we're getting in the NIL era of just how much of a grind college sports is for 4 or 5 years. And yeah, we've kind of laid it out here with just, I can understand going home for spring break for a week and saying, you know what, maybe this is the end of the road for football for me because there's just other things in my life that need to be prioritized higher than this.
We have Brandon Vogel in the green room, and his little guy right now is I think, trying to rip AirPods out. This is sweet. We will have Brandon Vogel coming up in about 3 or 4 minutes in hour 2. Hall of Fame basketball coach and longtime Danny Nee assistant. When Nebraska was dancing, Jeff Smith will join us, get his take on the Sweet 16, some names maybe to think about for Nebraska basketball as they try and fill the Matt Abdelmassih role. Gary Barnett with us in hour 2. And then Danny Burke from VSiN Sports Network, Burke's Best Bets, will be with us. But we're down here at Longwell's. They opened just a shade after 4. All 3 of the Monster Megatron screens are going. Your headquarters for the Sweet 16 with Hail Varsity and ESPN Lincoln down here at Longwell's. Want to see you down here. I am staring at several taps, just waiting to be pulled. And this is an incredible environment to watch a ball game. You know it. You've been here for years. We've been coming here for years during the NCAA tournament. It's a great time. Brandon Vogel on the way with Hail Varsity live at Longwell's. We are presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Numbers to get in at 466-3776 or 800-825-5865. We'll also dive into how banged up the tight end room is. That's on the way with Hail Varsity.
And we're back
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio lesson?
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Back with you here, Road Show Thursday here for the Sweet 16 down at Longwell's, getting ready for hoops action tonight. Who is headed on to the Elite Eight today and tomorrow? Road Show for Hail Varsity Radio at Longwell's. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We welcome in managing editor with HailVarsity.com and magazine. It's been forever since we've talked to him. Author with John Cook, Dream Like a Champion. Brandon Vogel is with us. And the graphic bug that says at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter as you're watching us here on StreamYard, ESPN Lincoln, Facebook, at ESPN Lincoln, Twitter. Junior is obscured. But it sounds he's gotten rid of his Tariq Hill Chiefs jersey, correct, Vogues?
Yep, we just got that, in December for Christmas and already had to ship that one out. So we're in the market for the next big thing.
That's all right. Let's talk about Zavier Betts. That's the news of the day. And some question marks also with Nebraska's tight end room. What's your immediate reaction, Vogues, on Betts as far as just what – had you heard any storm clouds rumbling with him in the receiver room? Let's start there because you had Mickey's comments pre-spring and even, after the first week of spring, there was some mention of Betts, and then obviously not this week, no mention of Betts. How do you gauge what's been going on?
Yeah, it's hard to say without a little bit more information. I mean, all of the things you mentioned, he was also kind of, a fixture of those practice videos early on and seemed to be making some plays. And, it's one of those things where without knowing exactly what the story is, I mean, it seems that it's not an injury. It's not a discipline thing. It might just be a case of the player trying to figure out exactly what works for him and what's best for him. And I do think, the door's open that his roster status today, which we just learned about, may not be the roster status going forward. So, but it's kind of, you got two parties here. And I think Nebraska would definitely take him back if that's what he wants to do.
It really comes down to that last part. If that's what he wants to do, I think Nebraska's been great with Zavier, and I think Xavier's put in really solid effort in Lincoln. And, Vogues, I remember kind of looking at you end of the third quarter down in Norman. Junior agrees, where Nebraska needed a big play to happen. What'd they do? They sent Zavier on a go route 63 yards later. That kind of broke the seal a little bit for Nebraska to kind of climb back into things. You saw the old little, the reverse little touch pass to Zavier that really welcomed him to college football against Penn State that tore the roof off the stadium. Well, hold on. Empty stadium. Figuratively tore the roof off the stadium. But you've seen his ability against the who's who of college football on Nebraska's schedule to make some plays. Even the damn near one-handed grab he made as he was assaulted at the goal line against Wisconsin. I mean, sky's the limit, ceiling's the limit for the guy.
Yeah, he was that kind of player. And, we've only really seen flashes of that potential, but those flashes were pretty big flashes in terms of a couple of his touchdowns there. And you could see the playmaking ability and the trajectory for him, looked good. I mean, with a player of his stature and being local, always, I think, adds something to that. Expectations can get high pretty quick. And it was kind of a slow build that first year to kind of get on the field and see the field. But I thought he made some strides from that. And you look at what Nebraska has to replace in the receiving room coming out of 2021, their top two receivers. He was a guy where he definitely made you feel a little bit better about just the state of Nebraska's wide receiver room, because we'd seen what he'd done in the limited sample size. Was he going to be ready for the full sample in 2022? And I would have put him at the near the top of the group of guys I thought could do that.
Yeah, and I think Husker fans were so excited to see what Zavier Betts could become under Mickey Joseph. And now, I mean, we're hearing that the guy in the room in the spring this year is Alante Brown. He's the guy that's been making the strides under Mickey Joseph. And we heard yesterday that he was actually playing outside the Z receiver spot. Do you think that's a result of Zavier no longer being with the program? Or do you think he's a guy that actually fits there and is a guy that's just going to be flourishing under Mickey Joseph's tutelage?
Yeah, might have made it a little bit easier to put him out there, the practices Nebraska's had so far this week. But, I get a sense that they're pretty much mixing and matching a lot so far this spring. Omar Manning is getting looks at slot, and they said right from the beginning that's what they were gonna try that with him. And that gets pretty intriguing pretty quick. So the emergence of Alante Brown is, probably one of the bigger storylines, I think, of the spring, because he's a player who, you go down that chart at the end of the year and be like, well, Austin Allen's gone and you lost Samori Toure. This is what you got to replace. And you can look at Omar Manning and say, all right, well, that helps. And you can look at somebody like Zavier Betts. Alante Brown would have been down that list. He's a guy who has some stats, but not a lot. So in terms of good developments for Nebraska so far this spring, and, we're all reading between the lines on these sorts of things, you just kind of got to take what you hear and go with it to whatever degree you're comfortable. Like, all of that's been really encouraging from a player who you were still waiting to kind of find his place in Nebraska.
Brandon Vogel with us from HailVarsity.com and magazine managing editor, author with John Cook, Dream Like a Champion. Vogel Jr. Obscured due to the graphic on StreamYard, but
it's like one of those police pictures you see on the news.
Well, it's like our old boy Michael Franzese sitting down with one of his former associates of the Colombo crime family. You've got to kind of haze the face out so identity can be preserved. Let's talk tight ends, Vogues, and I think they are out of baling wire and duct tape and medical tape in the tight end room. Walking wounded, but that also leaves a door open for some young guys to get plenty of reps. That's not always been the case.
Yeah, it hasn't been. And, I mean, if you're going to deal with that sort of stuff, now's the time. A player like Vogelek, if Nebraska had to play 3 weeks from now, you'd probably figure out a way to get him on the field. But you can be patient with him now. Of course, the elephant in the room is Thomas Fedoni, and, he's said on Instagram, like, his status has changed. We don't know the specifics, and we'll wait for Scott Frost, until he's comfortable talking about that more specifically. But another guy that, with what Nebraska lost, you kind of look at it and be like, okay, that guy probably needs to be pretty good for Nebraska, for the Huskers to be operating optimally. And now his status seems to be uncertain. So some of those younger guys have got to go. And it's a lot of guys that you don't know a ton about. I mean, we're talking young guys. We're talking mostly not their first year in the program, but largely first-year players.
Do you worry about the offense? The way it's been explained to me, you kind of know what you got defensively after spring. Offensively, that's fluid. And that's very evident with who's out on the offensive line. We're talking about Betts' future in the receiver room. We're talking about an offense that could be a lot of fun with the tight end usage because of how good of a job you have with Coach Becton and then the talent in that room. Do you worry about too many moving parts by the time fall camp finally starts, that they've got to start from a square one? You'll figure your quarterback out. You'll figure your center out. Your tackles, got to figure your running back out. And then, all right, who else is going to be a deep threat if you don't have a guy like Betts?
Yeah, I'm not worried about it yet. I mean, I think that this spring was going to be that a little bit naturally with just the changes to the coaching staff. So would you like some of those players you think you would pencil into the 2 deep right now be available? Yeah, absolutely. But those are guys who theoretically should be able to make up some ground just based on the experience that they already have. And we'll see. A lot of work's going to have to get done. This isn't going to be a spring for, okay, well, we came out of that feeling either better or worse about Nebraska. I think it's all going to be pretty murky still. So those early fall camp practices are going to be pretty important. And, Nebraska will start a week earlier than everybody. But you throw it in, hey, this isn't a usual opener. You're going to have to travel to a foreign country and do that. So there's going to be a pretty tight timeline, and I feel like a pretty hard deadline to make some decisions pretty quick once we get to August.
And Brandon, just kind of as branching off that question, has what we've seen in the first half of spring ball, has it changed what you'll be looking for in the spring game? I mean, I know everyone wanted to see the quarterbacks in the spring game and what this Mark Whipple offense looked like, but now how many practices in are we? 10, 11?
Halfway home.
Yeah, just call it halfway home. Now that we're halfway home, has your preview for the spring game of what you're looking for changed at all?
Maybe a little bit. I tend to take a very kind of more than what can I take away about Nebraska's offense. Like, let me see some guys, let me see individuals. It's real easy to be like, well, let's see what Trey Palmer looks like in a Nebraska uniform and what that's able to be. But people like, I think, Alante Brown and a lot of the offensive linemen, returning players, are kind of working their way into the list. Nori had some, I think, really interesting comments about the offensive line today that are sure to get a ton of attention because, according to him, you can't believe how well they're running the ball right now, which is, like everything in spring, you kind of got to dilute that to whatever you're comfortable with. But that's interesting. I mean, that's why you make a change at the O-line coaching position is you hope for some different results there. So that'll probably move up pretty close top of the list.
Vogues, who are you rooting for tonight in the Sweet 16? Who's your go-to? Who's Junior's go-to tomorrow night? Is he going to rock the peacock gear?
If we could get some here in time, which I wasn't.
Look at that right hook. I love it.
Yeah. Definitely would rock some peacock gear, but at this point, my bracket's not. It's middle of the pack, but it's still alive. So I'm pretty much just rooting for picks. So I need the Zags. I need Texas Tech. Really liking, based on the path that they have with what happened on the other side of the bracket, liking my Purdue in the Final Four pick. So yeah, I'm going straight, just rooting for chalk, I think, tonight.
Requests coming in down here at Longwell's. Do I need to request something for you off of Ween's White Pepper next?
Yeah, you might need to. I'm going to be about ready here. I'll say it's going better than I thought it would. But really flying without a safety net here.
We're all right. Tell him Daddy's timeout is done.
We're out of cheer. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
There we go. Vogues, appreciate you. We'll give you a holler Saturday morning. Thanks for a few minutes.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right. See you, Junior. Come see us at Longwell's here. Get a spot for the Sweet 16. More from Coach Frost, the tight end room. Hail Varsity continues, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time. Hail Varsity on the road here at Longwell's down in the rail yard ahead of Sweet 16 action. Numbers to get in, open phones till 5, and then Hall of Fame coach Jeff Schmidt will dive into the Nebraska coaching openings for basketball, his take on the Sweet 16. And then Gary Barnett will join us also in the 5 o'clock hour. Burke's Best Bets, Danny Burke from Beeson Sports Network will pick some winners for you or give you some insight. You can dial up at 466-377-6800-825-5865. So when we talk about Zavier Betts, your level of freak out is what out of 10? And I would say if you take your headset off and put your fan hat on, you can say 6. Easily say 6. Some will probably go 8. Some will go DEFCON 2. Some will say 1 to 3. But that's kind of what the chatter is today. A, what's up? No one really knows. B, is he going to be back? Time will tell with a meeting tomorrow between Coach Frost and Betts. But it's not disciplinary. Vogue's told us that. It's not off the field issues. It's more of, I guess, to insinuate, is it something he wants to keep doing and committing to? And Nebraska's got to know because they got to play next season. They got to round into form offensively with a guy that can play and, quite frankly, dominate in any league in the country. He's that good. Got a really good teacher and mentor in Mickey Joseph that is gonna make you accountable. I just, Elijah, we ran a lot of the Omar Manning audio yesterday, and Omar spoke last year, I think, towards the end of the season. And Omar spoke again yesterday, or make it Tuesday. And he just seems kind of like a guy that's at peace right now. And I think you've got a guy in Mickey Joseph that is fantastic at knowing the lay of the land because he's been in wide receiver rooms in Baton Rouge. He's been in wide receiver rooms in different levels of college. He's been in a quarterback room at Nebraska football getting ready to play number 8 Colorado for a potential national championship. So he gets the stage, he gets the pressure, he gets the work ethic and dedication needed, and you have a whole different ball game that he also understands of what 18 to 22-year-olds are going through right now. Social media, local product, pressures associated with that. And, oh yeah, by the way, distractions / opportunities out there with a new era in college football with NIL. So there's so many different things, and I can't speak on an educated note knowing much about Zavier's background, family, any of that. I just know that he's a hell of a good football player, and it's almost like the world wants this for him. Does he want it for himself?
That's a good way to put it.
So let's talk a little bit here about the tight end room. Let's hear more from Scott Frost today, as Frosty had more to say, specifically here with the tight end room, and we'll also get his specifics or non-specifics on Thomas Fidone. Here's Coach Frost.
We just got some guys nicked up right now, with Travis not practicing and Fidone not practicing and Chance Brewington not practicing right now, and Hickman's not practicing right now. So those, like I said, those guys are getting a lot of reps, and they need them because we're going to have to count on some guys to step up.
A lot of guys have an opportunity. A kid I really liked watching, and I saw his film, and I saw one of his games in high school, Rollins, but I was really kind of wowed by Rollins on the basketball court for prep. And you love going after that basketball-type player that's also a really good matchup issue at tight end. You think of all the basketball guys that have shifted over to that tight end spot in college football. Jimmy Graham comes to mind from back in the day. I know Graham's still probably getting a cup of coffee. Tony Gonzalez, of course, at Cal, way back for the Chiefs and Falcons. But I'm not saying Rollins is either of those guys, but I'm just telling you about his athleticism on the hardwood and how it's translated to a football scholarship, and that's good. You got the kid out of Norris that I'm anxious to see what he can do. But man, I mean, Nebraska's uber thin, Elijah, at the tight end spot here in this spring session.
Yeah, and the names that were kind of thrown around today as guys that were starting to step up, I think it was Nate Borkercher. I'm probably Borkercher. He's a guy that was singled out by Frosty as a guy who's really been working hard, putting his head down, working in silence, as being one of those, like, the guys that he was talking about. These young guys are getting a lot of reps and they need to step up, and he was the guy that was singled out, as well as A.J. Rollins, the guy you said, and there was one more name. Was it Androff? I think it may have been. Yeah,
Androff's the Minnesota kid.
Yeah, I think he was
early
an early enrollee young kid. There's just a couple names that Frost threw out, but I don't think really realistically we can expect any of these guys to be contributors this year, and that's what's a little bit worrisome. Is you were hoping this was going to be a spring for the guys like Brewington, who really didn't get many pass catching opportunities last year. He got a lot of opportunities in the running game, especially down in the red zone where he was awesome. But it's kind of wondering whether he would get a chance to go out and get some routes for himself, because I was really impressed with what I saw. And then Fedoni coming back from the injury, hoping he was going to get a chance to really settle in and give yourself a real 3 deep at tight end, where you can run 2 tight end sets and still have a guy on the sideline you feel comfortable running out there in case of injury or in case of you really need a big lineup. You can throw 3 tight ends in there, but it just hasn't panned out that way. From being a position group you thought was going to be one of the strengths of this team is now one of the weaknesses in the spring.
Well, right now it looks like a whole big old deep hill to climb, but I think from an opportunity standpoint, it could really be advantageous, just like you touched on. And you want different body types at tight end, and you'll get different body types that have a strength coming in with a skill set. Some guys just a straight-up slot mismatch. Some guys an end line. And you look at Brewington, his instance where he's able to kind of cross down and kick out and murder people on the edge. I mean, he's pure brick muscle. I mean, he's not a Gronk-looking dude, but, man, he hits like a freight train.
He gets that momentum going, just isn't scared. Never looks like he is scared to go in and make contact, and I think Husker fans love that.
No, he is outstanding. Do we have time real quick for the offensive line comments here? This is Frost on the offensive line, those improvements. He continues to see more from Frost here after practice today.
You know, I've said it a bunch, but there's just, been noticeable improvement to me on some of the techniques and details and fundamentals, and they've been plugging guys into different spots. Every time I look up, there's a left tackle playing right guard and a right guard playing left tackle, and guys need to be able to play multiple things so that when we fit it all together and get the best 5 guys out there, they're ready to do it. And I think they're getting a lot of experience with that right now.
Winding down this first hour, Longwell's down here in the rail yard. Come see us here. Ready for the Sweet 16. Tips off a little after 6. Hail Varsity continues, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery, live here at Longwell's. Getting you set for the Sweet 16. As that will be in all glory on these monstrous Jumbotron screens. We love hanging out down here in the rail yard at Longwell's. Kind of our tradition for the NCAA tournament, from opening round action to the Sweet 16. And 76 strong. Minimum of 76 beers on tap for you. A few more in the cooler if you're a vodka and tonic guy or gal. Tip of the cap to you, but it's all ready for you down here, and plenty of food as well, plenty of grub to indulge in. Reminder about buckling up: coaches make substitutions during the game to get the best player on the field. Getting behind the wheel after drinking also demands a substitution. Sober drivers are the only choice. A DUI costs more than you think. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Be sure to catch the Brandon Vogel interview. That's posted on ESPN Lincoln On Demand. The video feed's also out there as we are streaming live on StreamYard, ESPN Lincoln Facebook, ESPN Lincoln Twitter. So great stuff, and some thoughts from Vogues on Zavier Betts, the tight end room, the offense, how it looks moving forward. Jeff Smith, Hall of Fame coach, going to be with us here in about 10 minutes or so. Get his take on all things basketball and the NCAA tournament. 3 more transfers. Well, not more, but official announcement from Coach Hoiberg today. Eduardo Andre, Keon Edwards, Trevor Lakes. So Edwards, a bit of a surprise. We'll get Coach Smith's take on that. Coming up closer to 5:30, Gary Barnett, the topic of quarterback leadership and the reality of a portal guy that is taking the lead. How easy and effective is that? It's going to be more and more common, clearly, in the new era of college football. But how well does it gel with guys that have been on the team? So we'll talk to Coach Barnett about that, get his take on Urban Meyer and the incredible story from The Athletic. So that's on the way. Elijah, are you feeling barbecue tonight? Are you feeling some chicken fingers? Are you going to have a glass of poison or two? Jokingly, of course, when it comes to getting the rest of that cold you're dealing with out of its system?
I think I'm going to stay away from food tonight. I'm going to allow myself to be sustained by all the awesome sports that are on TV tonight. NCAA Tournament Sweet 16. My Denver Nuggets are playing the Phoenix Suns, and we have the U.S. men's national team taking on Mexico from the Azteca down in Mexico City in World Cup qualifying action. It's just going to be like 6 straight hours of watching sports as soon as I get off of work here. So I'll be up late watching sports, probably skipping the food and just letting the sports sustain me.
That is good. Good email to get into from Kevin. You can send your email in, chris@hailvarsity.com. But what's your freakout level at with the Betts news? Door isn't shut, door isn't locked, but not part of the team right now. We'll know more if that changes tomorrow. Hour 2 on the way. Jeff Smith coming up down here at Longwell's Roadshow Thursday. Sweet 16 time with Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Back with you, it's Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Getting ready for the Sweet 16 down here at Longwell's in the rail yard. And all 3 Megatron TVs are rocking and rolling. A little bit of Memphis and Brooklyn on right now, which good news on Kyrie if you're maybe you got a futures bet with the Nets on the Eastern Conference. Plenty of questions and answers to be had with Nebraska spring football. We'll continue that. Gary Barnett with us next segment. We welcome in Hall of Fame coach with Lincoln Southeast and longtime assistant with Danny Nee and the great years of Nebraska dancing this time of year. Jeff Smith with us and partner on so many high school basketball broadcasts. Coach, how we doing today? What do you know?
Fantastic. I'm doing well. Yeah, it's going to start clearing up. We can get back on the golf course pretty soon.
Brother, I chipped in from 100 yards out in Arizona last Friday. I kid you not. There's 2 witnesses. I don't need to bribe them. Now, that followed like an 8-putt on some of those treacherous greens, but I've already had 3 days, 18 in. I know you've snuck out a little bit here because we've had such a mild winter. How have you been able to get out at all? I know it was nice at the beginning of the week. Are you going to go this weekend?
Yeah, I'll probably get out. I've gotten out. My daughter lives down by Pinehurst, North Carolina, so I've gotten a couple rounds in down there when I go to see my grandson and her, and then around here whenever I can. The public courses have been open. Was that for birdie or eagle, though, the chip in?
I think that saved me for a bogue, brother.
All right. Well, hey, it saved you from putting again, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Man, I needed that. You know, never been so happy in my life to get a bogey to chip in from a Hyundai. I don't know, how did that happen? People I were with, my mom was like, did you just roll it in? No, I swung and it went down. But enough of my golf hijinks. Should be great matchups tonight. We'll get there in a moment, but want to get your thoughts, Coach Smith, on what's next for Nebraska. We haven't talked since some things have gone on with the program. Matt Abdelmassih in Nebraska and Coach Hoiberg parting ways. Doc, his position eliminated. And then, of course, you have Bryce McGowan's declaring for the NBA draft. Let's kind of pick apart all of those. First and foremost, what is Fred going to post? We got into this with Andy Markowski a little bit. I want to get your take. Because you've been there, you've looked for a job at a program as an assistant at the Division I level, at the Power 5 level. What's Nebraska's attractiveness like, in your opinion?
Well, I think that you're going to have to find somebody that absolutely believes in Fred. That believes in Coach Hoiberg and is very confident that he's going to get it done. Most assistants are signing 2-year contracts, and I'm sure that's what they'll do. But that's number one concern is, you're bringing somebody in and they know you're kind of on your prove it year. And so you got to have somebody, but you got to look for somebody that is connected and understands the Big Ten and the Power 5 level. And the way Fred has it set up, if he continues, that this is going to be a main recruiter, that's not easy. That's not easy to find a guy that can recruit nationally and I hope put a little more emphasis around here. And get the kids that are good enough around here. I think Andy said, too, you always have the thought of, can you find a guy that can bring a player or two with him? That's kind of what we did in football a little bit. And then I just think you need a connected, dynamic, experienced guy. And, that's a lot on a resume right now. But he'll get a lot of calls. He'll get a lot of resumes on his desk. I say bring Danny Nee back. If Larry Brown could be on the bench, Danny Nee could be on the bench.
I love that. Larry is 81 or 82 years young, but he looks incredible. I know, man, Coach Nee is, well, and you know him best. I had 2 memorable interactions with him in my life. One, we're at the pit at another bar up the road here. This is after you guys took down Oklahoma, pretty much the last spot in for the Big 8. And everyone's having a toddy with Danny in the pit of this place. And Daddy's just selling tickets, brother. Yeah. Everyone's ready to go to Kemper, and there was a caravan of us going on. And then Daddy, his last year, came on to my college radio show. He came in studio with us. We were at Avery Hall at the time, and Danny brought us a present that we had in case we got thirsty. and we just had a great time. He was so good to me. He was so good to me, and haven't talked to him in years. But man, and I don't know that he'd remember me, which I totally get. But I just love the guy. I always got a kick out of him.
Yeah, he was good to me too, and he could definitely hold court in a pub, no doubt about that. And he was a great PR man.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about just, is there a guy out there that is connected to the level locally that you could bring in? I mean, I'm sure there are coaches out there. Yes, absolutely. But that dynamic of being a national recruiter, but also having your fingerprints on local guys. Coach Smith, is that guy going to be a diamond to try and find?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough find that has all those qualities. You know, you think about some AAU guys that are very involved with players, but around here that's not quite as strong. It's not like we have the big programs or the schools, the prep schools that have those names. That's hard to do around here. You know, you think about assistants from other, maybe a third assistant from a real successful school that has some formula for success. But I can't. I've been racking my brain all day because I knew you were going to ask this question. I really can't I'm not connected enough to Coach Hoiberg to throw any names out at you, and it's a little early in the process. But hopefully, he has a circle of coaches. He has a lot of guys he can call for recommendations. So hopefully his experience and knowledge base and connectivity will help him find the right guy for us, because we definitely have to upgrade recruiting. We have to get bigger. I think we have to get longer. We have to get that power forward that is so versatile. They're hard to get. We have to get that point guard that we can build around, and that's not going to be easy to do. But that's the mission of whoever comes in and the entire staff, in my opinion.
Coach Jeff Smith with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. And Coach, you're talking about those local ties. I got a comment here in from Brennan, loyal listener. Shout out to Brennan, we love you. And he just said, thank goodness you guys snagged Griesel from North Dakota State. He's an SDSU alum, Brennan is, and says that guy was a pain in the butt to play against. So I want to get your take. Did you ever get the chance to cross paths with Griesel during your time coaching high school ball here in Lincoln? I know Griesel went to Lincoln East before going up to North Dakota State. Did you ever get the chance to cross paths with him, and what do you think of that addition for Nebraska, a guy who is going to be a little bit lankier as a stopgap one-year point guard here in this Hoiberg program?
Yeah, I coached against him his freshman year. He played a little bit his sophomore year, and then I was done, and he continued on. I put him on some coaches. In fact, one of my friends in coaching at Idaho offered him as a sophomore well before anybody else did, but he couldn't get him past the Dakota schools. He's a guy that we targeted pretty early as a Division I kid because of his length and skills, and then he went up North Dakota State and really improved his guard skills. In high school, he was kind of a 3-4, but could still shoot it, which is something. And he's 6'7", so you're looking for that. But then North Dakota State, he got an opportunity to go up there and play some guard, play some point, play a combo guard position, and really improved. I watched him a couple times on TV this year, and I think obviously I love the fact that he's a Lincoln kid coming back. I'm thinking Mielheisen was the last scholarship player out of Lincoln, so it's nice to have a Lincoln kid. But I also think his skill set is perfect for the versatility that they need, and maybe be a combo guard for Nebraska with some of that length we're talking about.
Jeff Smith is with us. We'll get to the Sweet 16 in a moment. Coach, what projections have you seen with Bryce McGowan's?
I'm here in late first round. I'm not real close to that, but that's kind of what I'm hearing nationally. They love his length. I think they felt like he improved a lot and showed some work ethic his freshman year. I think I think a lot of people say, oh, he'd get way better staying here, and he would. And there are cases like a Justin Patton where you maybe go out too early. But you're losing your money for a year. You're gonna work a lot more on development. I've gone to a couple NBA practices, and they all have their personal coaches, and they work out for hours before practice, hours after sometimes, and that's what he'd be able to do when you can go focus on your basketball career. And I know you can do that here some, but you still got to take classes, and it's still not quite the same as practicing at an NBA level players, NBA level system, the length that they have to go against, the speed and quickness and strength. And he's not strong enough, and he didn't shoot it well enough. But those are things that he's shown that he's willing to work on. He shot it better at the end of the season. He got stronger during the season, which is a rarity, especially for a thin freshman. So I think I applaud his decision. He came here telling us he was going to try to be a one and done. He worked very hard on his game during the season and improved within the league, I think. And if we can get guys like that and have them for 1 year, they're fun to watch and fun to watch develop, and maybe eventually we put a little more talent around them, then they can lead us to the Sweet 16 someday.
Coach, let's get to the Sweet 16 real quick, though. Surprise on Eduardo or Keon Edwards, Trevor Lakes. Those are the three official departures today from Hoiberg.
Trevor and Keon don't surprise me too much. They didn't get a play. Keon is the latest, and by the way, there's 760. He makes 761 in the portal looking at it today, and there's been about 150 in the last couple of days. The kids are getting nervous about getting in there and having a chance for a scholarship, but I thought Keon had his opportunity. He looks pretty good in a couple practices I went to early, started, 5 games or 4 games, but really didn't produce, and he didn't produce at the level to help us win. And eventually, Coach had to move on and change the lineup. And unfortunately, Keon didn't get a whole lot more opportunity. But sometimes that's all you get at this level. You get a 5-6 game window, and if you don't produce and if you're not practicing as well anymore, then that's kind of it. So that one doesn't surprise me. Eduardo a little bit, because I thought maybe he realized he had a future here. I thought he got better again. He's still not going to go outside of 15 feet and do much, but he was giving us quite a bit, and I think they were trying to work him in as much as they could. So that one maybe surprised me. That one hurts a little bit, I think, to lose that 2-year experience of a guy that's 6'11". But with 761 in the portal, nothing surprises me. There's teams that, like North Dakota State, I know has 4 in the portal, and they're at the finals of their conference. It really doesn't matter if your team's winning or losing. Kids from the mid-majors want to see if they can move up. Kids at the Power 5, if they don't play enough, they want to find some place where they can play. So that's just the nature of the beast right now, unfortunately.
Coach, just a couple of minutes, not nearly enough time, but your upset of the Sweet 16 and who you're rooting for. Give me those two.
Ooh, upset. Well, actually, Duke would be an upset tonight, I think. It's actually a pick'em. I'll tell you, tonight's upset, I could see Houston beating Arizona. I watched, and I actually picked Arizona to win it. I've got my Final Four is actually still alive, but Houston, I didn't see Houston enough during the year. They're better than I thought. They're even missing 2 starters from early in the year, but they are so deep, and Coach Sampson has them playing great defense. I want Arizona to win because I kind of wanted a Tommy Lloyd, Mark Few final. It would be kind of fun, but I would say for tonight, Houston has maybe the best chance. Well, maybe Michigan too, but yeah, Houston, Arizona is going to be a really fun game, and I think Tech Duke's going to be a really fun game. It could be Coach K's last game, possibly. But then Michigan's kind of a hot team too. But on there, I just go with Jay Wright. I really love Jay Wright's program, and I would just go with him.
UCLA Carolina is going to be special tomorrow night. Purdue is still trying to flex for the Big Ten, but the Peacocks, man, people are in love with those kids from Jersey, and we'll see if they keep on keeping on, kind of like George Mason under Larinaga, or the Gulf Coast squad from almost 9 years ago. That was a lot of fun to watch, with the Loyola Marymount team with Bo Kimball as they made their run. Coach, we'll run you down again next week to talk some Final Four. Hit them far and straight this weekend. Thanks for a few minutes today.
Sounds good, Chris. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good. There he is, Jeff Smith, Hall of Fame coach, longtime assistant with Danny Nee. I love that take. Get Danny Nee back on the bench. We'll talk with Gary Barnett next. Thoughts on Husker spring football next.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Let's talk with Hall of Fame coach Gary Barnett. Coach, how's the week?
It's been a great week. I've had my 3 grandkids in from Evanston, Illinois, and pickleball, basketball, swimming, golf, pickleball, basketball, swimming, golf. So we've been doing everything.
Does Grandpa / Coach I wouldn't say let him win, do they challenge you at golf, or is this a friendly round?
No, they got to learn to lose and fight to learn how to win. So, no, it depends on which one I'm playing. You got to bring them along a little bit. So, and each one's got a little different personality. I got one that just will die before she'll let you win.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's fun to watch that develop.
Coach, question here, and Nebraska is back in the swing of things with spring football. Wanted to ask you, how vocal did you encourage your quarterbacks be or demand they be?
I think I just let that unfold. When they do it and it's not natural, kids pick up on that. The other players pick up on that. Now, I think it's got to be a natural thing, Chris. He learns how much in control he wants to be and needs to be, the quarterback I'm talking about. And he needs to discover his own voice, and he needs to discover his own way of influencing others and what's the best way to do it. And he also needs to discover how each person is motivated in a different way. And so, you can work with him on that. Let them understand how other guys view things and how they are motivated and what kinds of criticism they take. You can explain that, but I think you've got to let him discover his own. That discovery learning is the most valuable.
Gary Barnett's with us on Hail Varsity Radio. The topic of voice and leadership's pretty prevalent in spring. It's a storyline. You have a new voice and leader at quarterback with Casey Thompson. Hasn't obviously won the job yet, but is getting really good reviews, and specifically from his voice and leadership and the extra work he's doing before and after with the wide receivers. That chemistry development has been noticed by some of the guys that are holdovers in that receiver room. So that's really cool to see, and just from accounts, Casey's a pretty natural leader, but it's an example thing, not a holier-than-thou type thing. And you mentioned motivation. Is there a player that was unique to you when it came to not only understanding how they kind of ticked, but as far as motivating? I mean, is there a player in your coaching history that you really, I don't know, maybe you had to kind of hammer away to connect to, but once you did, it really flourished?
Well, I truly believe every kid is motivated differently.
Yeah.
And it's as a coach, it's your job to sort of figure out what that is. Now, you can help yourself along. And I had one of the questionnaires I always did with the players was, tell me what you think motivates you best. I wanted to know, and tell me what motivates you, what's least motivating to you. And so I wanted to sort of get their take on it didn't mean that was necessarily the right answer. It might not be really the way they're motivated, but it's interesting to find out, to me, what each guy thinks it is, or maybe what he's been told it is, or what it is he can't take. But I always wanted to know that, so I could, especially the ones that really struggled with criticism, because you don't want to go there if you can avoid it, and you want to make sure that you go right to the edge, but you don't cross that line. So I really did believe that, and still do, that every student athlete is motivated a little bit differently, and my saying was always, you treat them all fairly, but not the same, and it's because of that. It's because they are, they don't all handle it the same way. And, I heard a great quote once that I've always tried to incorporate in my coaching. It says, you don't handle players, you handle luggage. And so that's the way I look at it. I don't feel like I handle them. I feel more like I work with them. And I would remind myself constantly. I had a little saying in my office that said that. So, but all of us do it differently. I mean, each coach is as different as every one of these student athletes are. So, you gotta figure out what works. And you don't have all the answers and all the best answers right away. You discover them as you go through the process. And that's why, to me, that's a point of the portal is you don't have a chance, student athlete nor the coach has a chance to really discover what works best between the two of them in 1 year. Some you do, some you figure out right away, some and they figure you out. But that process is as important. And nobody ever talks about that because it's not tangible. It's not out there. It's not something you can measure. There's not a speed on it. There's not a height on it. So, but that sort of stuff, and that's what you learn going through college, through those 4 or 5 years that you're in school with somebody and in a program, is you really discover yourself. And you have to go through all these challenging issues to really discover yourself. So if you will keep avoiding them with one transfer after the other, you're eventually going to learn it. But you have a chance to learn a lot quicker by staying in the same place and learning how to live within the limits and find out who you really are in that process. So, but that's just me. That's my thoughts on it.
No, appreciate the insight on that. It's a topic to discuss just because of how easy it is to hit reset with the portal, and it can be really good, and it can be delayed when it comes to finding yourself. Gary Barnett's with us on Hail Varsity. Coach, a thought on the athletic story on Urban Meyer. Did you see that this week?
I did.
And what'd you think?
I'm waiting to hear what's coming next.
Right. I mean, some guys just don't transition to the NFL that well. Urban's apparently one of those cases. But, man, it was pretty detailed where coaches and players just unleashed. I think Urban's story, while it is unique and while it's really hard to read and take in some levels, but I do believe that the overall concept of lack of control or loss of control going from college to the pros is the single biggest issue that all college coaches have when they make the move from the NFL, from the college to the NFL, and that's why it's a really hard thing for them. I mean, you can read that story, and aside from all the really ugly things that are in that story, you could throw in Steve Spurrier, you could throw in Lou Holtz, you can throw in Nick Saban, you can throw in Bobby Petrino, you can throw in a lot of names that when you dust off all the ugly stuff, it's the same thing. It's lack of control. You don't have control in the NFL. To me, that was what was really important. I mean, reading all the details of the Urban story, you just squirm in your seat reading it. You go, oh, man, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. Well, and that's, basically that all got exposed. Now, back when Steve Spurrier tried it, and Lou and Nick, we didn't have so much access to so much information that went in to the day-by-day issues of the coaches, and there wasn't these magazines and these articles. So who knows? That could have come out. You certainly hope not that way, but it certainly could have. So I think that's just typical of the struggle that I think coaches go through. You have to have so much control in college. One, it's a controlling game. Somebody asked me, I think it was my daughter asked me the other day, she said, did you like coaching basketball? I said, no, there wasn't enough control. And, I think that's true of football coaches. I mean, you have to control everything. You're responsible for controlling everything. And when the play changes every 30 seconds and, everything comes to a stop for 20 seconds and then it starts back up with another play, you've got to understand the importance of every one of those situations, and you have to have some degree of control and information about everything that could take place in the next 5 seconds. So, and you learn that becomes your life and the way you live your life.
So making that move to the NFL where you don't have that kind of control, you've got to learn to give it up, and you got to learn to, to give veteran players their just due and their responsibilities. So it's, I think that's always been the struggle between college coaches and the NFL.
Coach, last thought, if enough time passes, does he coach again?
Oh, in this day and age, I don't know. I would think it'd be really hard. I don't know what administrator can sit there and go in front of a press conference and say, we're hiring Urban Meyer despite all the things that you read from all these people. I don't know how you win that press conference, and there aren't a lot of ADs willing to lose a press conference right away. So I think it's really hard to do that. And what Urban's got to realize, and all of us do that get fired, is that, you live through these dark days, and they make you better. And, I hope he approaches it that way. Yeah. And others approach it with him that way, and others look at it that way. You'll get through this, and you got a chance to change everything that's happened if you want to change it, and go from there.
Gary Barnett with us. Yes or no, would you have traded Tyreek Hill?
Well, there's got to be something inside there. I don't know. They got a whole schooner full of money for in draft picks, et cetera. So maybe it's just time. Everything has a start and a beginning, and it's sort of like Bitcoin. When it gets up there, you better sell it while it's worth it, because it's going to fall off the next week. So I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to talk to Eric and see just what's up with that Bieniemy. But I hate to lose that guy.
Oh man, him and Mahomes. I mean, that scramble drill. Good luck stopping it. It hasn't been stopped the last 5 years. It's been incredible.
No.
Coach, enjoy time with the fam. Thanks for a few minutes.
All right, Chris. Great being with you.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio lesson?
On Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome! Back in, it's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Elijah Herbel and Chris Schmidt down at Longwell's today as we get caught up with the pride of Chicago, Danny Burke. Danny dropping some dimes for us last week for NCAA tournament coverage. He is back with us this week for more. And Danny, I need a synopsis of how your bets went last week. Did you do well? Did you do poorly? Just give me the full rundown.
It started off decent. I think Thursday we ended up going maybe like 3-1, something like that. So I think after we talked, the bets did fairly decent because Wright State was the first play I had in the play-in game, and then after that we hit a couple more. The one that I got screwed on was Colorado State blowing a 15-point lead to Michigan, but that's neither here nor there at this point. And then Friday, I think I went 0-2. I kind of got screwed on a couple plays. Sunday was great, though, because Sunday presented a very, very good in-game opportunity slate. And just to spend a second on that, I think there's a bunch of those opportunities still remaining, including tonight and, of course, tomorrow. But really the targets are these favorites that, hey, there may be a sizable spread in favor of them. You're not too comfortable laying it with them pre-flop, but they're going to win. So because of how volatile this sport of college basketball is with these kids and how it's a game of runs, you're inevitably about over 90% of the time going to get a better number on that team that you think is going to win, but you're not comfortable laying that original spread. So just wait, be patient, and attack it. And really quick, for one example, was Duke and Michigan State. Duke was a better team the whole game, but of course Michigan State's due to go on a run, and they did, and they got up to like a 5-point lead with a few minutes left. But then I was able to get Duke at plus 220 on the money line. I was like, this is the far and away better team. They'll figure it out, and they did. So situations like that kind of helped me bounce back from a bad Friday and recovered on Sunday.
Danny, that's why you're the expert, and I want to get into some of these games tonight before we get into the Friday games. But really fast, did you have the St. Peter's money line against Kentucky?
I missed out on that one. And luckily, I honestly probably made like 7 to 8 brackets this year is like the most I did because I just can't say no when people invite me. I think in one bracket I had Kentucky in the Final Four, so that one got screwed. But otherwise I had UCLA or Purdue coming out of that region. So I missed out on the St. Peter's vote, but hey, it is what it is.
Danny, tonight we start off with Gonzaga and Arkansas. The Zags have been really just incredible all year long. That offense is almost impossible to stop, but Memphis really gave them a run for their money last weekend. They're now going up against Arkansas tonight as 9.5-point favorites. What do you like here?
Yeah, this spread opened up as low as 8, and it's as high as about 10 now, and I don't disagree with the movement for Gonzaga. Look, Arkansas is a solid team, but I don't think they're as good as being a Sweet 16 team. I mean, they barely got past Vermont, who's a really good team, granted, but then they got New Mexico State, whereas a lot of people probably thought, myself included, that it was going to be UConn in that matchup, and who knows what would have happened in that game, but we're never going to know because UConn couldn't get the job done. Nevertheless, Arkansas is in this spot, but I do think they are warranted as being almost or as if a double-digit dog. Because, look, Gonzaga, they've had a couple of games. I mean, that first half against Georgia State, they got a little sketchy for a second, but then they almost ended up covering about a 23-point spread in the second half. And then you go up against the Memphis team, who I thought was very underrated, and then catching 10.5 was way too much. And a team with a lot of talent, chip on their shoulder, played probably their best game of the year. And against any other team, they might have won. But against Gonzaga, the Bulldogs were able to hang on. So you give them a few days off. You're going against an Arkansas team that, again, I don't think is good as they're in the position that they are in right now. I could see Gonzaga definitely covering this. I would lean toward them doing it. But just like I said, with the strategy, I mean, wait for an in-game spot with a better number. You might not get it in this matchup with Gonzaga potentially if they come out running. But the first games that they've been involved in, they only were up 2 against Georgia State in the first half. Then they were down 10 versus Memphis in the first half. I was pondering doing this, but it seems kind of ridiculous instead of waiting. But a second half bet on Gonzaga has been very, very profitable, and you can get them like -4.5 pre-flop to do it now. Again, so many things can happen in the first half. That's why it's kind of, wishy-washy to do it before the game. But if you're looking for that type of opportunity, if Gonzaga gets off to another slow start, just look to attack them in the second half. That's probably the best course of action I would recommend with Gonzaga. Be patient, wait for that number or wait for a second half number, and then look to get in on the Bulldogs, because I do think they probably end up covering this game. But again, I don't really like laying that much for favorites in basketball.
Danny, among the other 3 games, what do you like? I personally am looking at Villanova, only a 5-point favorite against Michigan. That seems a little skinny to me. I might lean towards Villanova. We also have Texas Tech and Duke in a pick'em, and then Houston and Arizona, with Arizona as a 1.5-point favorite. Any of those games tripping your wire as something you like?
Yeah, honestly, I'm intrigued in all of them. I mean, I don't want to beat the dead horse, but Villanova and Michigan is the perfect example of waiting for an in-game number. You are going to get a better number with the Wildcats. It's just a matter of time. I think they win. They probably cover, but why not have patience and wait? Dickinson's a really hard dude to contain. You've seen every other team struggle with it thus far. We know Juwan Howard's a solid coach, but Jay Wright is the best coach in this tournament, let's be honest. The deepest team, probably the best sound team all throughout, are the Wildcats. And what they do exceptionally well is get to the free throw line and make their free throw attempts, which is the most aggravating thing when kids don't, when I'm betting on college basketball. So I love trusting a squad like Villanova, but again, you're probably going to get a better number, so just wait. That's how I'm going to handicap that one. Duke and Texas Tech, man, I wasn't going to bet this one pre-flop, but I had a change of heart just looking deeper into it and listening to people. I know the public's going to be on Duke, but I haven't really heard any, kind of media type of voice or sharper better go toward Duke. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, I'll let you decide, but it seems like the narrative is that this Texas Tech defense is just going to be too good for Duke to overcome. What you have to consider is that Duke has potentially 5 first-round draft picks on their team. Okay, aside from that, they're one of the better three-point shooting teams, which the Red Raiders are liable defensively where they do have a hole. That's where it is. And Texas Tech doesn't really have a superstar player to catch up or keep up with an opposing squad down crunch time like Duke does. They have a handful of them, as I just stated. And it's Coach K's potentially last game. We know it's his last season. You don't think the refs are going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's always whispering in the Zebra's ears and always getting those calls we complain about left and right. I give that the advantage over the first-year coach with Texas Tech. So I ended up playing Duke here. I snagged +1 just in case of a wonky push, but I do think they win this one outright, and I did change the heart and go with Duke. I was leaning them regardless, but as an official play. And then Arizona, after it, I mean, that dude is unreal. That was one of the best games I saw against TCU on Sunday. Him and Koloko were just absolute beasts, and I just don't think Houston's got enough to keep up with them. Arizona's too lethal offensively. Houston still has a couple of those injuries from the middle of the season, and the power and the depth and the athleticism and just scoring of Arizona will prove to be enough. So I took the Wildcats on the money line -120.
Danny, I like that. I got Arizona as my champion in my bracket, so even though my bracket might be screwed, I still do have a champion in play, so I like that pick. And Danny, stick with us here as we're going to have to go another segment to get into some of these Friday games. Hold on the line. We'll get back to you. Danny Burke, more with him coming up after the break.
Good stuff. Elijah and Danny Burke getting connected on Burke's Best Bets. At Danny Burke 5 on Twitter with VSiN Sports Network and Musburger. More from Danny. Some emails before we get out of here. Longwell, Sweet 16. We're down here with Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Continuing another segment here with Danny Burke as we get his NCAA Tournament Sweet 16 picks. Already got through the Thursday games. As for tomorrow, I'm seeing some intriguing lines with some of the underdogs here. You got St. Peter's and Purdue. You got Providence and Kansas. You got North Carolina and UCLA. And then to cap it all off, you have Iowa State and Florida. Excuse me, I should say Miami of Florida. So any of those games you're liking tomorrow night, or are you going to say all of them again?
Yeah, the first bet I made for the Sweet 16 this week was actually the Miami Hurricanes. And believe it or not to toot my own horn a little bit, but in a few brackets I actually had this exact matchup of Iowa State and Miami. And I also had North Carolina beating Baylor, which was also the most stressful game of all time, but that's a different conversation. But I have Miami winning this game. Iowa State's got a good big man. I didn't trust Wisconsin. That's why I like them. But Miami just can shoot lights out on any given night. You saw it in their past couple of games. They can kill you all around the perimeter. Talk about athleticism. They got it. They got great transition offensively. And it just feels like Iowa State's run of luck is going to come to an end against the Hurricanes. So you've also seen the line movement go that way. They opened up with Iowa State as a slight favorite. Now Miami's like -2 in the hook. I snagged about -140 on the money line. So even on like Monday or Tuesday, I was a little late to the party. But I do really like the Hurricanes to advance. The game that's driving me nuts is this UCLA and UNC game. I mean, again, what Herbert Davis was unable to do to beat the press was astonishing in the worst type of ways. I mean, I coached an 8th grade feeder team here around the Chicagoland area, and I knew how to beat that press. I can't believe he couldn't figure out a way to do something different than having two guys dance around and get trapped in the corner. It was the most infuriating thing I've ever seen. And people are applauding him like, what are you talking about? That was the worst adjustment or lack thereof I have ever seen in a basketball game. Nevertheless, yes, the officiating was atrocious, and their big guy got ejected. UNC, again, the reason I like them is because they can shoot lights out with anybody. They're a good free throw shooting team. But UCLA is a little bit deeper, I think. They're the overall better squad talent-wise, and they're better defensively. But what performance are you going to get out of UCLA? They've been kind of sketchy here in the tournament, and I can't remember the main guy's name, but I know he's dealing with an injury, so it all comes down to if he's going to play or not. So I'm going to wait for that one, probably stay away, maybe betting over. And, yeah, that one, again, I don't know about you, Elijah. That one I'm just going to stick away from, though.
I'm leaning UNC in that one. Got to go North Carolina. I think, personally, I'm not sold on this UCLA team.
Yeah, and I really could understand any argument. The case could be made, too, though, to play kind of devil's advocate, that North Carolina has a little bit of recency bias because they still were able to hang in overtime against Baylor and beat them. But I'm looking at that whole second half and looking at the lack of adjustments, hey, if I'm UCLA, I'm just going to press the heck out of UNC. They don't know how to beat it. They clearly haven't practiced it. So I think there's a pretty clear recipe for how to beat this Tar Heels team. But again, nothing would surprise me with those two, hence why I'm staying away, not touching it with a 10-foot pole.
Danny, thanks for the insight today, and good luck with all of your bets this weekend, and have a good one, buddy.
Yeah, you got it, man. You too. Best of luck to everyone out there.
Danny Burke, Burke's Best Bets, VSiN Sports Network. We'll do this all over again tomorrow as we're back here at Longwell's for another road show. A road show Friday, of course, a lot going on. A second round of the Sweet 16, Nebraska baseball against Michigan. And grab a cocktail or two down here at Longwell's before Nebraska, Michigan. Get you ready for basketball. More thoughts on spring football tomorrow as we'll talk to you at 4 from Longwell's with Varsity Radio.